Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to do a quick video before I left for work today. I was inspired. Talk about the desert, desert, as opposed to desert as opposed to dessert. So, there's an obvious concept in the Bible talking about the desert of the real. This is referred to in the Matrix, where Moses led his people out of captivity into the desert. So, one way to look at this is that when you're led out of captivity, when you're led out of bondage of the spirit and you're led into Christ, you come into a desert, There's a time where there's a time where you are without, you know, without family, without friends, without communication with people, hell, probably without a lot of things, in the physical world. You probably maybe have been homeless, maybe have had rejection from the people in your life, maybe you were kicked out of your place. I mean, a lot of bad things, bad, big quotes on bad, supposedly bad things can happen, when you come into the truth initially, because you have to be separated from the things forcibly when you're young in the truth, because otherwise most people would not willingly choose to put that upon themselves. Now, once you learn, you can willingly choose that path. Once you ascertain what's going on, which you do at some point, but initially you have to be led. Moses led all of his people into the desert, and when they got there, they were like, "Dude, where's the milk and honey?" You know, like, why did you bring us out here? I thought there was gonna be milk and honey everywhere. I thought there was gonna be all these things, these riches, these women, and they just didn't get it yet. He was bringing them to the land of milk and honey. He absolutely was. In fact, they were already there while they were in the desert, in my opinion. You know, because what is the difference between desert and dessert? I believe it is one S. Desert, dessert, one S. Just desserts. One S. Snake. One snake away from a desert to a dessert. And what does that mean? You know, what is the difference in that one S? What is the significance in that? So, the snake, you know, the evil force, big quotes on evil too. I won't say evil, I'll say the antagonistic, the transformative force, the snake, the opposing rhythm to the positive that represents itself here through many different ways in your life. Why does that transform from the desert to the dessert? Something sweet, something to of milk and honey, of sugar, something that is tasteful, you know. It's like your birthday cake. You were born and you got your birthday cake, right? Something sweet, a dessert. Now that you're born into the truth. And you would say to yourself like, "Sweet? How is that sweet? Look at what these people do. Look at what they are." And I would say, well, it's a hard sell to tell me that many of the things that we know about in the truth of the physical matter of reality and the way things are going, that these actually happen. Like, subjectively, yes. There's Visio, evidence, testimonies, whatever. No, you could not convince me that you have physical evidence that you've seen in your own life of of all these Freemasons, etc., doing anything like that. You've only heard about these things. These things have only been shown to you because all they are is a symbolic, analogous representation of an antagonistic force. It's like you're meant to understand that this is just simply a part of yourself that is being ripped away from you, and now it's like you got a conjoined twin got ripped off your body, and it's like on the floor, and you're looking at it like, geez, dude, and your conjoined twin like murdered 50,000 people, and you're like, wow, that was like a part of me. What? It's crazy. That's funny. That's what Bat City used to say what? I got that from him, but Anyway, 21 instances of desert in the Bible. 21, 777. So here we have a positive gematria, numerical affirmation. So good sign, right? Good sign. Exodus 3:1, the opposite of 13. Now Moses was pasturing the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. So this could seem mundane, like, oh, he went to the west side and he went to some mountain. Ooh, big deal, right? Well, just like everything in the Bible has a very intense symbolic meaning. So when you say the west side of the wilderness, right? There's this idea that when we left the Garden of Eden, we left in a certain direction. So let me look that up here just to be sure. Direction where Adam left Garden of Eden. So they went to the east for 18 years. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters. 33, right? We're on the right path here. That's good. That's good. That's good. So they went to the east, right? And here Moses is bringing them to the west side of the wilderness, back towards the garden, right? And they came to the mountain of God, Horeb. Horus, it reminds me of, like the eye, the eye of Horus, the third eye, the pineal gland. We could go on and on, but you understand. The mountain, is this concept of the holy mountain that Ben had talked about, where it's basically like an obstacle to climb in order to reach back towards the Garden of Eden, towards the real world, towards happiness. And when he came to the west side of the wilderness, he's basically bringing them towards the gate. But the closer that you get towards the gate, there's a flaming cherub that defends the gate of the Garden of Eden and not let us in. And so I believe the closer that you get to the gate, it's like there was this old episode of a horror show. I think it was Tales from the Darkness by Stephen King, where this man has IOUs collected from the entire town. The big man with all the IOUs. Who's that? Could be Satan, right? Could be the opposing force. And every year on Halloween, he allows children to come into his domain, right? His domain. Very interesting. Seems similar to what we're going through. And if they can find the IOUs within the domain, if they can find where the stack of paper is, he will allow them to be cleared of their debt. And I would say Jesus Christ has already accomplished that for us. He was the kid who found it, but that's a whole other story. I'll say I'll stick to more of your personal journey through that, because everyone journeys through the same story, the story that Jesus Christ had. It's all the same story. It even plays out in your own life. I think you can understand if you were to take a look at it honestly. So when the kid gets really close to the stack of IOUs, he begins to make everything even scarier than it was before. He begins to shake things and make noises and bang drums, and smoke and fire starts coming out, and the kid becomes very intimidated. The child, that could be a spiritual child like us, spiritual infancy. And the closer that we draw towards the IOUs, the closer that we draw towards the source of the corruption, and closer to the gate of the Garden of Eden, closer to the top of that mountain, the scarier it can become materially. And heck, even spiritually. It's like the resistance in all forms, like I spoke about in the art video. You know, the fire. It's like, I don't want to get burned. I don't want to get burned alive, but you have to, you know, and it doesn't have to hurt more than it has to. It's all based on your perspective, right? So the kid ends up never finding the IOUs because he got scared, and he goes back out. I believe was the end of the story. Well, that doesn't have to be the story. That's what they That's what the opposing force's goal is to make that story play out that way and have the cycle repeat. But we're not going to allow that, are we? No. We are going to succeed. We're going to be passed through the fire and through the gate. We're going to be passed through the avalanche into the mountain and be able to see from the top all around and have this beautiful top down perspective on things. And you can do that in this life. You don't have to physically die to achieve that level of awareness. You don't have to physically die to climb that mountain. Although you'll always find that once you climb the top of a mountain, there's another mountain on ahead. It's like a it's like a screen that keeps wrapping back in on itself, but each time it's different. You know, so it's like always giving you something. But once you have that upward perspective and you do it for the first time, it's like a video game. It's like now you're having fun, right? Now it's like, man, this is so cool. Look at this. Oh wow, now it's a snake. Now it's a beast. Now someone's gonna kick me out of my house, but it didn't happen. And it can be exciting. It can be uh good, even if it's physically painful. It's like having a playful attitude towards the truth, a playful attitude, because lack of conflict and lack of blame and lack of hatred is the thing that it fears the most. You know, hatred only fuels it. Disdain, disgust, separation, division is the essence of it. So when you feed that essence, it only gets worse. You have to let go. You have to let go of opposing it, and you just have to walk through the fire without fear. You know, I have had to do that in my own life, and I'm still working on it. I'm sure many of you are. I'm sure many of you have gone through, similar things you can attribute to that. Walking through the fire, closer to the gate through the west side of wilderness, and behold, you came to the mountain of God. As you were led by Moses, as you were led by our Lord Jesus Christ. It's beautiful when you think of it that way. That Jesus is holding your hand, and He is taking you because you have declared that that's what you want. He is taking you through there. So let's read another verse here. Corinthians 10, 5, 15. The five man, 5, 5, 5. Nevertheless, with most of them God was not well pleased, for they were laid low in the wilderness. Matthew 3, 3. Right? For this is the one referred to by Isaiah the prophet when he said, the voice of the one crying in the wilderness, make ready the way of the Lord, and make his path straight. Matthew 4, 1. This is 5. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. Like that one line can encompass our entire existence in this place, essentially. That's why it's a 5. It is who Jesus was when he was in the world. He was a man and he was God. This is what we are. It's plain and simple. When you look at it from a high enough perspective, it's plain and simple. So we are the body of Jesus Christ. There is no other way to see that. It's just simply matter of fact. You are as powerful as Christ. You are a part of God. You are not God, but you have a part of that awareness into you, and you possess the same ability to manipulate reality. It's just we're thrashing out in ignorance so often that we do not even see the change that we leave behind whenever we do manipulate reality. Because it's not on the conscious level, it's on the subconscious, and you have to use your conscious, and once you understand that fact, you can manipulate it by your attention, by what you give out. You can't just say, I mean, you can declare something, but you have to declare it. It's like a chant, in your everyday life. If you want things to be better, you have to make it a part of your everyday mindset, everything that you do. You have to have positivity and love and a forward thinking perspective be part of that in order for it to incorporate into your base of conscious, level, your template. So, and the child, this is Luke 18, 666. And the child continued to grow and to become strong in spirit, and he lived in the deserts until the day of his public appearance to Israel. Right? It's like you live in the desert until the day that you pass away and you make your appearance to God. And like I said, you don't have to physically die for this to happen. You know, and I've never died physically, so I can't say what that's like or when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen or if I will ever die or what. You know, I can't say that for sure. It talks about in the Bible you will. So I have to focus on the present. I can't worry about that. There is no future. There is no past. It's just now. You know, can you get the way that you want to be now? You know, will death come? Likely. You know, physical death, but that's okay. Like you've already made your public appearance to Israel if you are in Christ and you are in awareness and you have spiritual discernment. You're already there. Like you already walk amongst the spirits of your fathers and your forefathers and your mothers and your foremothers and you're already amongst them if you have awareness. You're already, you know, a part of that group. Once you realize that, it can seem shameful to yourself the way that you were, the way that you still are, like me. Like I still have a bunch of things going on that I don't like about myself. But you can't have one foot in the fire and one foot on solid ground and be embarrassed by the fact that your foot's burning up. You know what I mean? Like somebody's gonna look at you and say, "Oh, you're burning your foot's burning up. Your foot's being burned alive." Like, yeah, it is. I'm trying my best. That's all you can do. You know, you can never you can never defeat that completely while in the world. You know, at least I cannot. At least I cannot. I want to make that clear. I can only speak from my own experience here. So, don't don't feel as if this is some sort of standard you have to live up to. Like, oh, you have to be perfect. You're no. You just have to stop. You just have to forgive yourself. You know, the reason why the cardinal sin is that is not accepting God's forgiveness is not believing in God is because if you do not believe in God, then God cannot save you, right? Because God gives you free will. And so if you choose not to accept God, then he can't do anything about that. He has to accept that fact, right? And he's going to. So if you accept God, then all things are possible. If you forgive yourself and understand that God forgives you, all things are possible. You have to get on the level with God and say, okay, I understand that I have been forgiven and that I need to forgive myself. And once you're there, it's the process has begun. I mean, you're essentially already won at that point, but it's still a journey from there. That's just the start of the journey, and that's the good thing too. It's like it's just the beginning, right? So I just want to make that quick video for you before I left for work. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. You know, thank you so much. I hope you glean some information from this that might help you throughout your day. I don't, if you are subscribed to me, I don't really make videos about physical reality, like specifics. Like this happens, that happens. It doesn't matter. Like, it's so subjective. There's no way I could tell what's going on in your life, or you could tell what's going on in mine. All I can talk about is the binding spirit between us, the positivity, the good message. That's all I really care about, now that I'm at this point. I just want to encourage you to continue walking through the desert and understand there will be desert at the end of the desert. You know, things will be okay, man. I promise you. Promise you, it'll be okay. Relax, take a deep breath, see things for what they are, and don't give significance to the antagonistic force in your life other than the fact that it is the positive resistance that binds and sparks between the positive and negative that creates your own experience. And it's the only reason it's here. God bless you. And God bless the world. God bless everyone. Please love yourself. Please love your family, even if they reject you. Please love your enemies. You know, who else? Who else can bring love to your enemies other than yourself? Right. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a good day.